Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming to the webinar today. It's about following up with our clinical sites after the March mailing, and everybody's probably starting to think about that now that March is coming to an end. So I really appreciate you all coming today. Today's webinar will be recorded, and people who are not able to attend will be sent that recording, and you'll also be able to get access to it if you are here. There should have been some materials that you were sent yesterday, about 24 hours ago, with the slides in that. Hopefully you did have those given to you. Did anybody not get those, or did anybody need those to? Basically, did anybody not receive the handout? You can just raise your hand or let us know if you didn't get it. I'm not seeing anybody with questions about the handout, so I'm assuming you all got it. Looks like you did. Oh, I see a hand up. Okay, so if you raised your hand, does that mean you did not receive the handout? Yeah, a couple people it looks like did not receive it. Are you able to see the handout in the handout section here in GoToMeeting? No, it looks like a lot of people have not gotten it. Okay. Oh, received it. Some people did receive it. Okay, thanks, thanks Jackie for letting us know. Okay, looks like people did receive it. If you didn't, check the handout section here in GoToMeeting. I don't have access to the handout section right this second. If it's not there, let us know, and we'll make sure that you get that access. You get access to the handouts, you know, in time, probably after the webinar though at this point. Okay, and I'm assuming you can all see my my screen at this point, and we will just go ahead and get started then. Sorry for that sort of rocky beginning. So again, today we're talking about following up sites. Okay, and the agenda for today's webinar is that we're going to talk about how to resend the slot request, how to contact sites who have not yet responded, some best practices, and then next steps and beyond. So let's go ahead and just dive right in. So sometimes we have to resend the slot request for whatever reason. Maybe it didn't get to them or whatever. So why do people tend to send out the slot request again? If you're not sure the clinical site received the email, it's a good reason. If you had any changes in your clinical education schedule, it's a good reason to resend it. And if you maybe missed an attachment, you found out about an email change, or there's any sort of errors or typos in the email, those are some good reasons to resend it. You can send out a mailing also to newly acquired clinical sites during when you are resending the slot request. You're not really resending it to them since they're new to you, but you are resending the slot request email that you've already sent out. So that's another reason people do it. So the way that you do it is you go to the slot request section on the left menu, and you click on that slot request, and you're going to see once you click on that, something called schedule notification. When you click on that, it's going to take you to a screen where you're going to see, you know, when the last email was sent, and then you'll be able to click on that to send it out. So you'll see these two emails were scheduled back in when it was first done. So in order to resend the slot request email, you're going to click on the button that's associated with the line that says slot request. You can also send out the update site information email again too. Most people are done with that at this point, but if like somebody asks you for it, you can certainly send it this way as well. So you'll click on the schedule notification, and it's going to take you to that same full list of all the people who it was originally supposed to be sent to. And you can either, you know, check them all, or go to the advanced search and check a particular person that you're looking for. Usually that's what people are doing at this point. They're not sending it to a bulk of people. They're sending it to just like one person or a couple of people who've asked for it to be resent. So the advanced search allows you to open that up and search for sites or people, or even like states and areas. So if that's what you're looking for, you can do that. You can also show all the records if you're going to send it to all the sites. It's not usually what you're doing at this point. And then you would just click on anybody that you needed to send it to, and then click on schedule request. That will prompt a screen that looks like this. It's our email interface that is for bulk emails like this kind. You'll be able to see when the link is expiring for this particular email. You can change that just by putting a different number in this box. And you can put a date that you want it to be scheduled for, or what you're probably going to see when you get to this point is March 1st. It's going to be the date that's in there. If you either delete that date or don't delete it and just click on this next step, it will send it immediately if it's a date in the past. So like, let's say it's March 1st and you wanted to go ahead and send it today, it would automatically assume that you meant to send it today, because the date in the past it can't really send it to that date in the past. You can also make any changes to the email here. You can attach anything additional. You can CC or BCC somebody. You can even override the recipient's email if you needed to, especially if, like they said, hey, I didn't get it. Can you maybe send it from your own email box? So then you can actually send it to yourself from there. So kind of a lot of different options. Once you've clicked the next button, it's going to take you to the screen where you're going to see that it's uploading uploading the emails to go out. It's going to give you the count of how many emails that was, and then you can click send, and it will it'll let you know the process. It's going to ask you if you're sure, and then you'll say yes, I'm sure I want to send it, and then it'll give you an update of how many have been uploaded and then how many have been sent. If you get to this point and you kind of don't want to do anything else and you're not really sure if you want to send it, go ahead and click on that little X and it will take you away from this page. Here's what that question looks like when it says, are you sure you want to schedule these emails? And you can say yes, or you can say no if you don't want to. You have until the stop processing box goes away to cancel that. If you've scheduled it for the future, you can click that stop processing button anytime until the future date, or obviously you can, if you're kind of racing against time, you can click stop processing and kind of cut it off right away. Once the emails have been scheduled or sent out, go ahead and close the screen with the little gray X at the top. You don't need to keep it open. Okay, so another something that sometimes happens is you get to this point and you've scheduled the slot request resend that you wanted to do, maybe for sometime in the future, and then you change your mind. You don't want it to go out. If you scheduled it, you can cancel it. If you've scheduled to go out immediately, then you can't cancel it. It's something you can't do. But if it's for a future date that you scheduled it for, you can certainly cancel it, and it will not go out. In order to do that, you're going to go to the slot request schedule notification section, click on schedule notification, choose the slot request option, and then you're going to click on this notification history. So all the first same steps, except when you get to this list of recipients, you're going to go to the history because that's going to take you to this page where you can see all the sent emails as well as emails that have been scheduled. So you can see that this was created on the 27th, and it's scheduled for the 4th. If you want to cancel it, you're going to click dismiss, and that will start the process of not sending it out. It'll ask you, I think, if you're sure you don't want to send it. Oops, hold on, what happened here? Sorry. Yeah, so you'll click on dismiss, and it will stop it from going. Sorry, guys. Okay. Before I move on to the next section about contacting sites who have not yet responded to the slot request, does anybody have any questions? I'll just pause briefly here. It's pretty straightforward, but okay. Doesn't sound like there are any questions, so we'll go ahead and move on. So contacting sites who have not responded. So also here today, everyone, it's not Rocio, but I have Panaz Driver who is here to help with questions. You can continue to put your questions into the question box, and then she'll answer them if they're kind of specific to your program. But if they seem to be something that would apply to everybody, then she'll let me know during the pauses that that's the case. So don't hesitate to ask questions if you need them. Okay, going back to this, contacting sites who have not responded to the slot request. This is a pretty important part because this is basically how you follow up with your sites. So obviously, when you send out reminder emails, you want to target the sites who have not responded. And that will increase the number of slots that are offered, and it serves as like a gentle reminder to your sites. Most of you have probably put down a please respond by April 15th or April 30th as when you want to hear back from your sites. And people start sending out this reminder close to that date so that it kind of goes along with what you had asked for. You can always change to what your email says too, like the verbiage of your original slot request might say one thing, but your follow-up email might say other stuff. So this is helpful in terms of that and reminding your sites what you need and what you're looking for. So the best place to do this particular activity is through the slot request analyze tab, because in that section we have a report and tool that's basically the sites who have not responded to the slot request. It's kind of a long name for a tool, but it's very useful, super useful. So when you click on that within the Analyze tab, sites who have not responded to the slot request, it's going to pull up a report. And that report's going to show you a list of all the sites who have not responded, whether the site area, settings of that particular site, and then the SCCE information. Even better, it's going to tell you when the last email was sent, and then whether or not the link was clicked in that email. The link that it's talking about is the slot request link, where the site can click on the link that goes directly to their site landing page, and where they can offer slots. So that's what you're going to see when you first get here, is just a list of all the sites who have not responded to the slot request. You can use the advanced search if you wanted to see how many have not clicked the link, etc. So you can use that to check that out. If they haven't clicked the link, there might be a problem. Maybe they didn't get the email, they didn't open the email or whatever. So you might want to check with them to make sure they got it too. The other tab within here is the email that the tool that you use to send out the slot request again. So this one is a report, really, which you can export to Excel. The other one is a tool that you can use to resend the slot request. When you use the tool, it's going to take you, it's going to have a couple of filters, and it's also going to have a couple of different other capabilities on this page. So it's automatically going to default to showing all staff who've been contacted earlier. So not anybody that's not been contacted, anybody added after the slot request was sent out the last time, they won't show up here first, although you can certainly find them if you go to only staff not contacted earlier. And then the other thing it's going to do is it's going to filter for people or staff who have not responded to any associated sites. So that's the default is basically if your SCCE has maybe responded for one site but not all their sites, they will not be showing up on this list. If they haven't responded for any of their sites, they should show up on this list basically. So does that make sense? Like you will not see them on this list if they've responded to the slot request in some way, basically. If it's But if they have responded to at least one site, the default is that they would, they won't show up on this list. Now you can decide to, okay, I want to see, my SCCE, maybe they responded for 3 sites. I want to see which ones, they didn't respond for. If you click the second option under here, that will let you sort for that instead. And I'll pause for a second. I don't see any questions coming up about that. Okay. Once you have, once you get to this
Hello,
page, though,
Beth?
yes. Yep.
Sorry. So I think there's one good question. So it's about when the schedule notification, how do we access that when the slot request is locked?
You will need to ask support to unlock it. Most people should be unlocked at this point, but if it's not unlocked, go ahead and send a support request in. I would say even right during our meeting, or during the meeting we're in right now, or right after it, saying that you need it to be unlocked. Most of them should be unlocked at this point. But if they're not, we definitely ask for them to unlock it. Otherwise, you can't do it, and that's you don't want that. So good question. And is that something that I'll ask everybody in general? Are you finding that your slot requests are locked right now? Because we're supposed to unlock that. Okay, well, let us know if you're having any trouble, and send an email to support. They should unlock it pretty quickly. And you can CC your CSR just to make sure that it's getting addressed if you'd like. Okay. Good question though. Okay, so the other, what are you doing here? Okay, so when you're on this page, you can select the people you want to send it to, and then click on schedule request. Now you can see that some of these have been clicked on, some of these have not been clicked on. Depending on what you want to do with that, you could just do the ones who haven't clicked the link, or you can just do the ones who have, depending on what you want to do there. And you'll click on schedule request, and it takes you to the next page. I see a question about if there's a way to send a different email to sites who did not click the link as opposed to the ones who did. And yeah, technically there is, because if you choose just the link not clicked and you click on schedule request, it does take you to this page, and you can add a different message here at the top, or you can have us add a different template in here. And then you could send that one out for the ones who haven't clicked the link. But up to you what you want to do with that. It's going to show you, it's going to automatically go with the slot request reminder. You can also use just the original slot request email, depending on what you want to do. But you'll use this drop down to choose the template. If you've decided to add an additional template, like a link not clicked template, support would have to enter that in, and you'd be able to select it from this drop down. You can CC anybody you want, BCC anybody you want. You'll be able to see who the reply to is here. Make any attachments that you might want to do, and then any of this other stuff. You can also make sure, you might want to do this before you even send it to your sites, is the override the recipient's email with your own, and make sure that you like what the email looks like. You can expire the link within a certain period of time, and you can also schedule the email to go out at a certain time. So let's say you want it to go out on the 15th. Maybe you're going to be out of the office on the 15th. You can go ahead and set that up to go out, and it will do that for you without you having to do anything at all, except having set it up ahead of time. Once you're ready with all these pieces, you can go ahead and click next. And like I said, you can edit this email. If you do edit the email that you see down here, oops, one thing to note is it will save the changes only for today, only for this time that you're sending it out. Once it's sent out, it'll go back to whatever the template was beforehand. So kind of like one-off changes that you might want to make, or if you want to make it really, like if you're only targeting one particular type of site, or a particular site in general, you can even personalize this by adding a couple lines, but it will not save those lines to the template. It's only for that particular time you're sending it out. again, it takes you to this page where it's going to be loading the records. So this is the bulk feature. Anytime while it's uploading the records, if you change your mind, don't want to send it out, you click here to discard of the changes, and it won't even get to the next step. But if you're happy with it and you want it to go ahead and go out, you can view a sample email here by clicking on View Sample Email, or you can click on Send. Do not let the invalid date trouble you. The reason why it's going to say invalid date typically is because there is no date. So if you don't have a date in there of when you want to schedule it for, it's going to say invalid date. Just ignore that. It's not really an invalid date. It's just there's nothing scheduled. It's simply going to go out immediately. Once you feel happy with everything, click the send button, and it's going to make sure that you want to do it. It's going to ask you to make sure you want to send it. If you do, you'll say yes. If you don't, you'll say no. Once it's sent or scheduled, you can close it out by clicking this little grayed out X. And anytime during the processing, you can click stop processing, and it'll stop loading the emails to go out. Any questions about that part? I don't see any additional questions. Okay. Excellent. Okay. Well, then, yeah, then we'll just go to the next step. So best practices, it's kind of a time that we kind of want to hear from you about what you're doing right now with following up with sites, or what choices that you're making in terms of that. So kind of go into the next here. So some of the best practices are, sending out a reminder email 3 to 4 weeks after the initial mailing. That's what some people have told us they do. Also making sure that you closely monitor pending slots and follow up with those clinical partners. Remember, there's a tool on your dashboard where you can see any pending slots. Those are something that's important to make sure that you follow up with, because they can sometimes alter how your slot count looks, because any pending slot that's not been processed yet, or that's not been confirmed yet, is going to look like it's not really a slot. It's not going to actually record as an active slot, so it won't count, basically, unless it's been confirmed either by the site, or if you call them and then confirm it with them afterwards. So just something to kind of keep in mind, because it's, your sites are going to want to know, basically, that you've kind of kept up with it. All right, so I want to hear about your best practices now. So this is sort of an open discussion. If you are willing and able to do that, we can unmute you if you raise your hand, or we could actually unmute everybody. Well, that would probably be too loud if I did that. Just because if you're not in a quiet office. So if you'd like to say kind of, or you can do it in the chat too, depending on how you want to do it. So what we want to do is kind of just get you all to talk about, do you reach out to sites any sooner than 3 to 4 weeks after your initial mailing, or how many times do you reach out in total, or do you do anything else other than just sending a reminder email? Like, how do you, especially in the wake of post-COVID, where it's really hard to get slots, how do you kind of reach out to your sites aside from just your original slot request email? So I'm gonna be quiet for a second and see what you say. And if you want to unmute, perhaps just put it into the question box, because I think we have some raised hands, but I think they're raised from before. So nobody has any advice. It's okay if you don't. Okay, looks like there's a couple people that have put in some words here. Okay. So yeah, Jackie, I'm gonna unmute you first. Unmute. Okay, go ahead and talk.
Hey there. I thought I'd just mention some things that I've done over the years. I typically look at particular clinics that I want to have more than others, and they are the ones that I reach out earlier to by separate emails, just not even using the exact system, but just using email. Sometimes I ignore exact. And then, or a phone call. And a lot of times with that, I look at sites that I've had before that I like, that I want to try to get again. So those are the ones that I try to kind of contact even earlier than waiting for a month. And then I typically with that, I may send an email first, and then 5 days later, I'll send another email. And then 2 days later, I don't hear anything, I'm going to give them a call. It's kind of without stepping on somebody's toes, knowing they're busy, kind of play by ear.
That makes sense. I appreciate that. All right, that's cool. And you do find that does it help that you follow up in that way?
Yeah, I already have over 100.
Perfect.
Lots.
Awesome. All right. I appreciate you chiming in there, Jacqueline. I see one comment that I want to clarify, and I'm going to mute you again really quick, just so there's no feedback. Okay. Okay, there we go. Okay, so I see a comment that is sort of a question. It's in the question box. That's a comment. So somebody said that Exet automatically sends a reminder email if you requested it in the configuration. So that isn't true. Exet does automatically send out a reminder email to the sites who have responded to the slot request but said call me later. That is the only automatically scheduled email that Exet sends out. And that's something that's set up in the configuration. So that would be something that if you were going through configuring all the different emails, one of the choices is to have Exet send an auto email to people who have said call me later, and it actually sends them an email on the day that they said to call them later. So those people have actually technically responded to the slot requests already. Those are not people who didn't respond. So just wanted to make sure that was clear and you all understood that, because there is no automatically scheduled email from Exet to remind your sites to respond to the slot request. So wanted to make sure that was understood. Is anybody kind of like really surprised by that or confused by that? I don't see anybody freaking out, so I'm hoping that everybody's okay with it. So that is that is a commonly confused thing that some people have often thought, that we do send an automatic reminder to your sites, and that isn't true, because in part because we want you to have autonomy in terms of like who you'd like to contact from the people that you haven't heard from yet. Sometimes you won't need to contact everybody because you might have had enough slots and you don't want to just send out an email asking for more if you don't really need more. So just wanted to make sure that you understood that. And let's see. Okay, somebody says sometimes it may feel like an auto email from Exet might get filtered in the inboxes, or they might just ignore an alert or a reminder. Yeah, that's true too. I appreciate that comment. Yeah, those auto emails are sometimes ignored by anybody, by sites. Emails are a very commonly ignored form of communication, and if it's an auto generated email, it's likely it could be filtered out by somebody's emails, like spam filters, or it just people just might ignore it because it's a reminder and not doesn't seem personalized. So definitely reaching out kind of in a personal way, like Jacqueline was talking about, or at least structuring your email, your reminder email from Exat a little differently can sometimes help to make it more personal experience. All right, does anybody else have any other advice or questions or comments about how you do your reminders, how you reach out, anything like that? I know some people do a reach out during site visits a little bit, depending on if they have time to talk to the SCCE. It all kind of depends on what your business practices are like, and then also like how familiar you are with your clinical partners that you're working with. So, okay, I don't see any other comments. Anybody else want to say anything? I don't want to force anybody to talk. Yeah, so there's a question about the recording. Yes, we'll be sending out the recording link after the, I think it takes 24 hours for it to be done. So it takes 24 hours for GoToWebinar to process that link. So we will definitely be sending that out afterwards. All right. So let's talk about some next steps. Obviously, you've thought about sending the reminder email out. And for us, this is the last of the March 1st mailing webinars for this year. We're going to send. You'll be off on your own now. This is the last one that we do. What we would like though is your feedback. So we created a survey a few weeks back, Rocio and I, that really asks you for your feedback on the March 1st mailing this year, how it went, how you'll support, how you like support, whether or not you kind of had any ideas for improvement on the March mailing. So you still have plenty of time to take that survey and do it if you have a couple minutes. It really does help us out in terms of looking at our practices and our enhancements. So please take a few minutes. It's really pretty short. So if you want to go ahead and do that, let us know how we did. That's really helpful. Going forward, obviously, we have all the same resources as usual: in-app chat, support, our YouTube channel, which we're constantly updating with new videos, and our help center. So obviously, reach out to support if you need help. Go to the YouTube channel if you'd like to see some videos that are directly related to what we're talking about, and then also go to the help center, which does have a specific list of help documents that might be useful. And I mean, that is all we have for today. It's actually, we scheduled this for an hour and a half, but it only took us about 35 minutes to go through the content. That sometimes happens. Hopefully that won't bother you all too much if you get extra time back. In the meantime, though, if you do have some questions, or if there's something that you want to see live in the system, we do have time for that if you'd like. So first of all, I'll open up the questions, and then I'll also, if you want me to show you anything directly in Exat, I can do that too. So I'll just wait for us a couple minutes here and see if anybody has anything. And in the meantime, I'll, in case nobody does have anything, and you need to leave, just want to thank you for coming to the webinars, for taking the initiative to learn Exat through the webinars. It's helpful, and then also all your feedback is always useful too. So thank you so much. All right, got a couple of people that are just leaving, and somebody who's asking for how to deal with first come first serve slots, and I'd be happy to go over that again actually, if other people are interested in it, or even if they're not. I can, if most people are just hanging on, certainly just tack that onto the end here. All right, here's a question about going to new sites that did not get the March mailing because you did not have a contract. Okay, so yeah, that is where you would go to, let's see, let me just go back here to this, resending the slot request. So this is actually, it's a good question. I'm just gonna say from current slide. Okay, so when you're resending the slot request, you're usually doing that because you have additional people that you need to send it to. So this is not a reminder email. This is the resending it to a particular person, or sending it for the first time to a particular person. Once you mark somebody as a recipient of the slot request, they will show up in this section where it's where you schedule the notification. So let me go back a couple of steps here. Okay. Oh, wait, I think I went the wrong direction. Okay. So you're going to go to slot request and you'll go to schedule notification. This is assuming you've added that person to your database. So, you know, whether or not the contract was active or not. Afterwards, if you want to add the person to your database and then say that they should receive the slot request. Once you do that, they will show up in the slot request section. So you'll get to this, you'll go to slot request, you'll click on schedule notification, and it will bring you to your 2 emails that you had already sent out. You'll click on schedule notification, and you will search for them in this list of people. So you know that they're new. You'll search for them in the list of people, just using the advanced search probably, especially if you're looking for just one particular person. And then you'll click on that link that said schedule request. You'll get to this resending the slot request. To this form where it'll automatically load the original slot request email, and then you can just go ahead and click on next, or you can change anything else in here too. It's going to take you to this page where you can click on send it if you're ready for it to go out, or you can discard it if you changed your mind. And then it's going to take you, once you say send it, it's going to make sure you really do want to send out that email. You'll select yes if you do, no if you don't, and then it will start processing the emails. Once it's finished processing, you can exit out. If you want to stop it from processing before it's done, you click stop processing, and it will not schedule those emails. And that's basically all you have to do. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question? The question of what to do if you didn't have the contract before March 1st, or if for any reason, like maybe you just didn't have that person's right email address or something too. Okay. Seems like, yeah. So let me know if that didn't answer your question, Phyllis, and we can talk about it some more. Let me, in the meantime, log into Exact. I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a sec here. Let's see. If you need a new email template to send out those new sites, do you need to send it to support to put it in? Yeah, any new email template needs to be sent to support to be added, because you can't add a new template. You can use a template that you previously used, but you can't actually use a template that's not already in there. Okay, so I stopped sharing my screen for a second. That's because I'm going to be logging into Exact. So give me 1 minute while I do that. And just going to go ahead and log in. And then if you want to follow along, feel free to do so. And the question was, it's going over how to work with first come, first serve slots. So let me do this. And I'll share my screen again in 1 minute here. Okay, and we'll do that right now. And can everybody see my screen? I think actually I can tell that you can, so I won't ask that question because I can tell that you are able to see it. When you're dealing with first come, first serve slots, the first thing you're going to want to do is just obviously see how many you've gotten. So you'll see this on your dashboard. You can also see it within the slot request section. And even more in depth, you can actually go to each clinical experience and see how many first come, first serve slots that are there, and you can also set it from there. If you're doing it from the dashboard, you're just going to click here, and it's going to take you to, you know, any of the new first come, first serves that are in the system. You can click on either of these manage first come, first serve slots. It takes you to the exact same place that you, you know, no matter which one you click. So I'm going to click on the top one, but it's just going to take me to that same page of all of the other first come, first serves that have already, you know, been added to the system. We can see that this one's already been published, but this one hasn't. You can select on as many as you want, either, you know, just one at a time, or you can select all of them. And then this is if you wanted to publish the first come, first serve. So basically you want everybody to, all your students to have access to it, or at least some of your students have access to it. So you'll click on the check mark next to the site, and then you'll click on publish. What that does is it brings up a section where you can select certain sessions. There's only one in this case, but if you had selected your entire list, you'll see, you know, all kinds of sessions here. I'm only going to select this one because that's the one that I have. And you do have to scroll down for the next button because that is sort of low down. I don't know why it's so low, but it is. And you'll just click next. All right, it's loading it. The next thing it's going to do is it's going to make sure that you want all the students to be contacted. So it's going to load the list of students for whom this particular first come, first serve, or other first come, you know, whoever you're directing it towards. It's going to bring up any student that would be getting that email, or would be getting who should be getting access to that first come, first serve slot. Sorry. Another thing you're going to want to pay attention to here up here though is the last day to receive student interest. Now, it's going to default to a 24-hour schedule so that, you know, people who are really trying to push their students to respond quickly will be able to do so. But if you needed to change that for any reason, you just need to click up in here and you can change it to however long, you know, you want to give the students access to the first come, first serve page. After, whenever the date ends, so like if it's the 29th of April, they will no longer be able to tell you they're interested in the slot. It'll just, they won't be able to tell you that they want to go to that slot anymore. And then you can select the students that should see it. If there's anybody you don't want to have access to it because maybe they've already they've already been placed for that particular session, you can basically not click on that person and they won't have access to this particular slot. And then you have two options here at the bottom of the page. You'll either be able to publish it, which means it just goes to the student's first come, first serve dashboard, or you can publish it and send the students an email, which again would be sending the students an email and letting them know that these things are on the dashboard. I'm going to click on that just to show you what the email looks like. So again, we've got this email processing screen, and it basically just goes through, you know, I think this is the default email that comes up. You can make any changes to it that you might want to make to it. And in that email itself, it's going to have an express interest in the slot option. So the student will click on that. It will take them to the dashboard. It's in this first come FCFS table here. It's actually going to list any of the slots that you've selected for publishing for this particular moment in time it's going to show the student those slots in a chart or a table in the email. Once you've kind of finished like looking at that, and if any changes you want to make to it, you can type them in there. You can put an attachment here if you want. Once you're finished with that, you just click next, and it's going to load the emails just like the slot request email does. First, it loads them. If you don't want to send it from this point, you can click the X and it cancels it. If you do want to send it, you can click send. If you want to see a sample of the email, you'll click view sample email. And here's that nice little table I was talking about. Here's the button where they can express interest in the slot, and kind of just the whole package of what it looks like. And you can just flip through to see what each student's looks like too, if you're really interested in that. I'm gonna go ahead and click on that. And if you're happy with it, you can click send. It's gonna remind you that you're sending it, and it make sure that you really do want to send it. You'll click yes, and it will, it's gonna start loading these. If I change my mind at this point, I can click stop processing and it won't send them if it's not finished. But it's a race against time if you scheduled to go out immediately. It already has loaded these emails to go out to these students, and it's notification sent 100%. So it has gone out. You can see the date stamp there too. That is how you process the first come, first serves. And now that they have been sent out, we can see this one was published on 3/30/2022. This was published on 3/9/2022. Probably that was our last webinar too. And you'll be able to see any interested students by clicking on interest shown. And it will show you when that student had expressed interest in the slot, and whether or not you had placed them yet, or whether or not they were placed anywhere. Is that helpful? Does anybody have any kind of like add-on questions to that process? I know I went through it kind of quickly, but just want to make sure that it was useful. I don't see additional questions that have come up from that. Okay, another question is, how do you go to analyze slot requests to look for the students who've shown interest? That is one place you can go, yes. So if we go to this side menu here, hold on. Where's my slot request one? Come on. Hold on, guys. Here we go. Okay. Slot request. So first you go to slot request, and then you go to the Analyze tab. And here you can see manage first come first served slots. So this is going to take us to that same page that the link on the dashboard took us to. And that's basically showing all the first come first served slots, and then in the action column, any that have places where students have shown interest. So that's probably the best place to go for that particular report. You can use the tools button to export that to Excel, or you can use the advanced search to look for only only ones where students have shown interest. So if you wanted to sort just for that, you could do that too. The default is it's going to show you everything, and if you want to really just focus on, especially if you have a lot of first come first serves and you've published a lot of them, if you only want to look for those ones where students have shown interest, using the advanced search will help you to kind of narrow down that that page of what you see. Okay, let's see another question. If published, can students see the first come first serve slots in the wish list, or do they need to use a process discussed to show interest? Okay, so that's kind of two questions. Yes, so depending on if you open up a wish list and you want the first come first serves to show on the wish list, they will automatically probably be showing because they're considered confirmed slots. So unless you have made them tentative slots, the first come first serves will show up on any wish list. But the student will treat them like any other slot on a wish list. They'll just put them into if they're interested in this in that particular slot, they'll just add it to their list, and they'll rank them, and they'll submit the wish list. There's no way to do this show interest from the wish list. They actually have to do that from their first come first serve dashboard. Let me see if I can show that to you. I will just try to pick somebody here and hope that person has some first come first serves. I should have probably seen who I published it for. Oh, I can't do that one. Okay. Let's see. All right. Sally Cross. Okay. Oops, I think I have to switch back. While I'm doing this, hopefully I can do it right now. Yeah, perfect. Okay. I'm gonna go to try to be Sally Cross here. Oh, we should have been on top. Okay. So a wish list, a general wish list is going to be opened when you want it to be opened and closed when you want it to be closed. The managed first come first serve slots do not depend on a wish list. They're all kind of by themselves. So there's no currently active slots here for the student, but if I click off of this, I might see some older ones. Yeah, so any of the slots that you published are going to show up on this page where the student has this section called manage first come first serve slots. Totally different from the wish list though, because the student can express interest here, and then that's how that gets to that one page that we were looking at here, where you can see where the student has shown interest. And that's the only way that they get to this page. If they put it on their wish list that you've opened up, that won't actually translate to this spot. So if you want to use this tool, then you'll want to make sure that you publish it and tell the students to do it there. If that helps to know that, which I think it does. Is that any follow-up questions to that? I don't see any questions coming up. Okay. Does anybody have any other questions about first come first serves? Oh wait, here's a follow-up question. Sorry. So if you just publish the first come first serve slot sites, all students will find those there. Yes, as long as it's part of their as long as it applies to their bachelor class, they'll see them on the manage first come first serve slots part of the left menu on Exat. You'll want to make sure that they know to find it there, but it's definitely the best way if you only want to see them first come first. If you only want them to see first come first serve slots together, and if you're gonna, you can leave them out of the wish list if you want that way, or you can also have them show up on the wish list depending. You'll have to remember though that the only way to get them to not show up on the wish list would be to change the slot status to something that you don't include on the wish list, like a tentative slot or something like that. Because we can't, there's no way to just take the first come first serve slots out unless you've placed a student, or unless it's got a different slot status that you're not using for the wish list. All right. This has been good though. These are good questions about first come first serve. Which is a very confusing process, I think, with lots of different intricacies. So I'm glad we've had a little extra time to talk about that today. Okay, let's see. Any other questions about this or anything else that you want to see in the system? Because we do have a little more time if you want to see something else done or talk about something else within Exat. All right, does a tentative slot automatically not show up on the wish list? Yes, so tentative slots don't automatically don't show up on the wish list, but you do have to change the slot status to tentative. So, or whatever it is you want to do. Let me show you what that looks like. Switch back here. So on any given slot, I'll actually choose a first come first serve slot. Your every first come first serve slot that's been added by a site as a confirmed slot is gonna show up as confirmed. That seems like I've just double talked myself there, but I think you know what I mean. So if I wanted to make it a tentative slot, I'm going to go to the slots, and I think I have to actually go this way to get to that. I could have looked up the site too and done it that way too. And you just go to slots and go to 2022. And you would need to change it to tentative. So that's right here in the slot status. You'd have to do that with any first come first serve if you're going to go through this process the way I'm talking about right now. And then to answer the question, when you are setting up a wish list, so I'm going to go to placements by session. You have to do something extra, basically, to include slots that are not confirmed, and I'll show you what I mean by that. So when you go in here and you say you want a session wish list round, I'll use this to even show you it here. The default is include slots with status confirmed. That's the default. If you want anything else included, you'll need to click the drop down and also click anything else. So if you wanted tentative slots, you'd have to click the drop down and then select that. This is a multi-select list, so most people are only going with confirmed slots for this. But if you wanted to also have tentative slots, that's what you would do. But the default with any wish list is it's going to only include confirmed slots. So that's the default. And I think that answers the question. All right. Does that help everybody who has questions about first come first serves? I want to make sure that we didn't miss anything. Okay. I don't see any new questions, but I'm going to give it one more minute because sometimes I say that and then another one comes up. So I want to make sure I give time to let that question come up so people aren't trying to, feverishly type something in and then I cut them off. So. Okay, I don't see any new questions. I do see some people have left. So anybody else have any other questions about either the March 1st mailing process or first come first serves or anything else? Okay, here's another question. What happens to first come first serve slots when they're not available anymore? Well, I mean, it depends on how you want to work with that. What I would probably do if it was me is I would inactivate that slot just because you don't want it to show up on a wish list. You don't want to show up in a place where where basically it doesn't count for your slot count. So you don't want it to show up anywhere that it might seem like it's available. So what some people do obviously is they actually go into the slot itself. Go back here. It was an Oasis, I think, before. Here we go. So you can go into the slot itself and make it inactive. So active status no. And then you could put a note in here that says why. No FCFS no longer. Okay, so that's one thing you can do. And it won't show up on a wish list if you do this. It will still show up to the students when they see the, if it's a published first come first served slot, it will still show up to them, even if you've inactivated it like this, just because it was already published. So if it's published, it will still show up on the students' manage first come first served dashboard. You could put a note in here for the students that says no longer available, and that note will show up. But the slot itself will still show up too. So some people have actually given us some feedback on that we're trying to take into account for basically that, so that the students know that they can't use that slot anymore. Right now, your only option really is to put a note for students in there that shows them it's no longer available. Eventually, it would be great if what would happen is it would just no longer show up on that pending that first come first served slot section, but that's not the case at this point. So you would definitely want to make sure you put a note here, and then obviously to get it off of any of your slot lists that, especially when you're looking at assigned placement, the assigned placement page, you want to make it inactive because you don't want it to show up there, because you want to make sure it's not counted and not accidentally placed with a student. If that makes sense. All right. Yep, no problem. Okay, any other questions right now about this or anything else when you're kind of working with slots? Okay, somebody's got a comment. I include pending confirmation required slots in wish list for those slots I anticipate to get, but just have not gotten final confirmation as of yet as well. Okay, yeah, you can definitely do that too. So that's something that when you're setting it up, it will show up there. The thing I'll note about that though, if you are including pending confirmation required slots, those are also going to be, well, on a wish list though, it probably makes sense. Like, but the ones that are showing up here, let's see if we have any more of those. These pending slots also have that slot status, I believe, but they're inactive, I think, instead of active, so that they won't show up on a wish list unless you actually activate the slot itself. Just kind of a call out to that particular comment in terms of the pending confirmation required. These slots that are in the pending slot detail section on the dashboard, these are inactive, and only active slots are designed to show up on wish lists. So yeah, so you'd have to activate them first if you wanted them to show up. But yeah, absolutely. If you anticipate that these are coming, you'll go into the slot and just make sure that it's active. So this one's inactive, so you can just go in here and actually edit that to be an active slot, and then include those pending confirmation required slots on the wish list, and then they would automatically show up. And students can see it's pending confirmation if you want them to, or you could you don't have to let them see that if you don't want them to. All right. Okay, a question about the pending, the dashboard slots that are pending. So these pending slots on the dashboard aren't pending because the site wants them to be pending. They're usually pending because the site didn't follow the directions on the slot request. Maybe they just didn't finish the slot request. So there's a step within the slot request process where they review and confirm their slots. And if they don't click that review and confirm, it automatically becomes a pending slot because they didn't review and confirm it. So it's more like it's here. They're here because the site did not finish the slot request process. But it's a pretty common mistake, especially if it's the first time they've done it, where they might not see that there's a button to review and confirm. And that's, you know, or it's also possible that they you know, they're still thinking about what else they can provide, and they say, you know, they save what they've got, but they'll come back to it and finish it later. So it really depends on what they do, what they're doing. All right. Okay, good. So I won't say anything more of that because you know what I mean. Any other questions, folks? This has been a very good Q&A portion of the webinar, so I appreciate all your active participation in that. All right, and it doesn't have to be about this. If you have other questions too, you can let us know. Otherwise, just, you know, if you want to keep an eye out for upcoming webinars, we do have them, and I think you probably got your last. You'll be getting your last Thursday tip this week. So the Thursday tips are going to end. You'll still get Tuesday tips, which are more generalized, but the Thursday tips are about the slot request March mailing process. I see a raised hand that just came up. I don't know who actually. It doesn't tell me the order in which the raised hands came up, so I don't think it does anyway. If you just raised your hand and you've got a question, do you want to go ahead and put the question into the question box? Or maybe it was an accident. Okay, I'm only seeing one raised hand right now. I think maybe it was raised for a while. William, did you have anything that you wanted to ask? I think it's your hand that I'm seeing is raised, is the only one. Just, I don't want anybody to feel left out or like I didn't see their question. Okay. Well, let me know if obviously you can reach out to us other than just during webinars too if you have questions. I can. Yep. Oh wait, here we go. Yep, here's the question. How do we access recorded webinars? I believe you get sent a link. If that's not true, you can let me know. But you should be sent a link to of the webinar after the webinar has been completed. The other way you can get them though is if you go to your dashboard here, and oh, I guess you can't see those here. You should have like a March 1st mailing section on your dashboard that has all the webinars listed. Let's see if I can go to that in the configuration section. Hold on 1 second. I'm trying to think of where I can find those here. Okay, so yeah, so you have probably a slot request, March 1st mailing. This is an older one, so it's not going to really help me all that much. But oh, here's the new one. Okay, so if you go to any of these links, it'll take you to GoToWebinar, and if it was recorded previously, you can put your name and email address in here. Click register, it will take you directly to the recording. You should get a recording though within 24 hours of the webinar, and then you'll have access to it that way. All old webinars are on our YouTube channel, so you can always go there too for older webinars. And then any of your colleagues, if they didn't sign up ahead of time, they can always just come here to get access to that. So like, just to show you what that looks like, you'll put your name and stuff in there, and it takes you right to the recording of the webinar from last time, or from whatever time it was that you went. All right. All right, well, perfect. Does anybody else have anything? Looks like we're pretty good here. All right. Well, I appreciate your time today, everyone. Hopefully you're staying warm, getting ready for spring. It got really cold here up here in Minnesota again, so we got more snow, and I'm kind of tired of it. But hopefully you don't have that. So we look forward to seeing you at future webinars, and wish you the best of luck with your slot request reminder process. All right, thank you everyone, and hope you all have a great day. Take care, and thanks again for coming.